Even the Ferrari team manager Vasseur could not justify what happened in Melbourne, since there was simply no defense. Ferrari had the opportunity to secure a robust result, and instead ended up confusing itself once more. Hamilton and Charles Leclerc held safe positions, occupying position 6 and position 8 respectively, prepared to advance when the rain intensified. But instead of opting for a pit stop at the crucial moment, the team hesitated while rivals reacted immediately. Their usual strategy was to wait and hope for the best. Spoiler alert, that approach did not work. Vasseur confessed without mincing words that not only did they let a great opportunity slip away, they handed it over. Lewis Hamilton excels in chaos. If he is given a confusing and unpredictable race, he always finds a way to take advantage of the situation. Whenever conditions become intense, Hamilton is generally the driver who capitalizes on the madness. And for a brief moment in Melbourne, it appeared that he might succeed again. When the rain began to fall, Hamilton suddenly assumed the lead. Ferrari's decision to keep him on track for a few more moments worked briefly, as while the others made a pit stop, he stayed on track and inherited first place. Had the team timed the switch to intermediate tires correctly, he could have contended for a remarkable result. But when they finally reacted, the track had almost turned into ice. The safety car entered the action, and Hamilton went from leading the race to struggling merely to secure some points. His radio message said it all. "We lost a great opportunity." Hamilton did not join Ferrari to fight for a single point. He came to win. And while he is still adjusting, it is inevitable to wonder how long it will take until he starts demanding more control over the strategic decisions. Because, let us be honest, if Ferrari cannot get the decisive moments right, Hamilton will begin to make them on his own. If you think Hamilton was frustrated, imagine how Charles Leclerc felt, as he had a privileged seat to witness yet another strategic disaster from Ferrari, this time in an active manner. Let us start with the obvious. Leclerc made an error and acknowledged it. His slide in turn 11 cost him 4 or 5 positions, and in a field as competitive as this, that was enough to spoil the day. But there is an important difference. He managed to recover and fought to get back into contention, reaching a position where a well-timed pit stop could have salvaged his race. But then Ferrari intervened. Both Leclerc and Hamilton stayed on worn tires for too long, and he was not even sure what the team was doing. Later, he admitted that the choice was not correct, and that is an understatement for the problem. Leclerc knows that Ferrari has speed. We all know that the current car is not slow, as it appeared competitive in practice sessions, and at times even in the race. The problem is not the vehicle, but rather the people making the decision. Ferrari has become the team that is always one step behind in reacting to the rain, one step behind in initiating a pit stop, and one step behind in realizing that perhaps copying what McLaren and Mercedes do might be a good alternative. Ferrari fans have heard the same story for years. We have potential. We only need to execute better. Next time, we will get it right. But at what point does potential stop being a promise and become merely an excuse? Leclerc has been loyal to Ferrari since 2019. He stayed with the team through all the successes and many difficulties, signed extensions, believed in the project, and kept the faith. But for how long can that continue if Ferrari persists in wasting opportunities? How much longer until he starts looking for another team? Leclerc knows he is fast enough to win races, knows that he can contest for the lead, but what he does not know is whether Ferrari will ever stop self-sabotaging to the extent that he can truly achieve that. This should be the year in which Ferrari unites, but instead it starts to seem the same as always. Ferrari makes mistakes, fans become indignant, and then Vasseur intervenes with the classic speech that the team has much more to offer. To be fair, Vasseur at least acknowledged that they completely erred on the timing of the pit stop. That honesty, if nothing else, is refreshing, for he admitted that they should have sent Hamilton and Leclerc to the pits at the same time as Verstappen, instead of waiting until the worst possible moment. That is the frustrating part, because for a brief moment Ferrari's gamble really seemed like it might work. Hamilton was leading the race. If they had had time to execute the switch to intermediate tires at the right moment, he could have left Melbourne with a podium. perhaps even with the victory. I want to believe that Ferrari holds more performance in store somewhere. I truly believe that. But did we not see exactly the same thing last season and the season before? On Friday, Ferrari appeared competitive. The pace in the practice sessions suggested that they could at least contest for a podium. But as soon as the moment became crucial, when conditions changed, the pressure increased and strategy became decisive. That performance vanished. That is the real issue. It is not just a poorly executed pit stop, but that Ferrari is still not agile enough when it matters. Talking about the strategy panel, the problem was not merely a miscalculation. It was indecision in its utmost form. Red Bull and McLaren saw the rain approaching and reacted immediately. Even Mercedes managed to send their cars to the pits at the right moment. However, when Ferrari finally realized its mistake, the race was already lost. Vasseur claims that the current car has more to offer, and perhaps it does, but there comes a time when the team needs to stop talking about its potential and start delivering concrete results, because at the moment fans no longer trust it. There is only a limited number of times that one can say we are close, and only need to execute better before people begin to roll their eyes. Ferrari has speed. Ferrari has two world-class drivers. But none of that matters if the same predictable errors continue to occur. Now the question is, will it be different this time? Will Ferrari truly apply what it learned in Melbourne, or will we be having the same conversation after Shanghai? Vasseur appears confident, but confidence alone does not win races. Execution wins. And at the moment, Ferrari has not mastered that aspect. Fans have been through this before. One race in the season, and they are already questioning everything. But let us give the red team the benefit of the doubt. China is the next stage, and this is Ferrari's chance to show that Melbourne was merely an isolated incident, and not a preview of another season full of self-inflicted wounds. This means there must be no more hesitations, no more doubts, no more steps behind. If the rain comes, they must react immediately. If Hamilton or Leclerc suggest, for example, that it might be better to opt for a pit stop, Ferrari must heed the suggestion immediately, and not only after 3 laps when half of the pack has already changed tires and set off towards the sunset. Besides strategy, Ferrari needs to trust its drivers. Hamilton and Leclerc believe that the current car has potential. They do not say that merely to be nice. This vehicle is not slow. It is simply not being used to its full capacity. That is an issue Ferrari must resolve. For if Hamilton, a 7-time world champion, points out that something is not right with the car, perhaps it is best to listen to him. The big question is whether Ferrari will actually take action, or simply claim that it learned from its mistakes before repeating them in Shanghai. The pack is too competitive to keep wasting results like this. Rivals will not wait for Ferrari to reorganize, and if the problems are not fixed now, the team will be out of the title fight before the real contest even begins. It is not just about adjusting strategy or technical details, it is about changing the entire approach. Enough of waiting for things to miraculously resolve themselves. It is necessary to execute. For one thing is clear, if Ferrari intends to fight for a championship this year, these mistakes cannot happen again. Ferrari had a golden opportunity in Melbourne and squandered it. The current car had the necessary pace to compete. But once again, strategic errors transformed a promising race into a frustrating mess. Shanghai represents the next chance for redemption. Will they react in time when necessary? Will they finally trust their drivers instead of overcomplicating decisions? Let us be frank. Leclerc and Hamilton are not here to fight for scraps. They are here to win. And at the moment, Ferrari is making that task far more difficult than it needs to be. The good news is that this is only the first race. The bad news, however, is that we have seen this pattern before. If Ferrari truly possesses the speed that Vasseur continues to mention, it is time to actually prove it.